We back.
Like
we back in left. The building. 2024.
Like we never left.
Like we went to the store. Yo, run to the store with me real quick, Kev. We gonna come back in 2024 with some new heat. You know what I mean?
Went to Target in Houston.
It's going down. What's up, Kev?
I'm chilling.
How's your? All sorts of. How was it? How was your holiday? How was your New Year? How was everything, man?
It was not uneventful. I didn't even tell you what happened, did I?
No, we haven't spoken.
Well, the bright note is that I was actually in a Target, not in Houston, but locally.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a lot of energy for me not to take a picture of the big old bathroom sign and send it to you.
You were starting off this is a horrible start off to the year. This is an awful first show start off.
Agree to disagree. So we generally have at least one, if not two, trips to the Chicago area to go visit my wife's family, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Last year, so Christmas of 2022, we all got COVID, so we had to cancel it, right?
I remember that. Yep.
So this year, my daughter, who is fairly resilient, even though she is a delicate flower, she's my little princess, but she's pretty tough. She's a pretty tough chick. She woke up and was not feeling well like a week before school was about to let out.
Oh man!
So I was like, uh-oh. And so she had a fever, and I was like, wow, if she's, it's like she's one of those people who, if they say they're not feeling well, like, something's going on, because like they never say, never have anything going on. Right. Took her to the urgent care, flu. They tested for the flu, and I think they tested for COVID, and she had flu. Like, okay. Oh boy. So I'm wearing a mask in the house, it's like pandemic era living. It's all good. Wifey gets it. So I take her to the same urgent care, same doctor. He's like, you're 2 for 2. I was like, all right. So then he gives her the Tamiflu. He gives me a prescription. He's like, you might as well take it too. It's like, cool. So I made it through without getting the flu, but we had to cancel our trip.
Oh no.
Yeah. So we ended up being here, which was, I was bummed because I was like, I'm going to stay healthy. We're going to be okay. She's going to be fine by the time we have to leave. And then my wife got it. So I was like, oh yeah, we can't do that. Yeah. So, but yeah, we ended up chilling, felt like a very long, but quick vacation because most of it was spent running back and forth to pharmacies and urgent cares. How was your holiday season?
It was, well, before I tell you about mine, so are you guys going to reset the trip to Chicago anytime soon, or what's the...
I'm thinking about maybe spring break or something like that. We'll see.
Cool. Mine was nice, man. The Christmas was with the immediate family. Really, well, I guess really my immediate family. Because it was my parents and then my kids and wife. So it's just us. And then, man, you know the deal. They had to wake me up at 9:00 to do the countdown with New York. Yep. They woke me up 5-10 minutes after. We counted down like it was New Year, and I went right back to sleep.
Man, that's the way to do it.
That's the way to do it. Midnight, I was woken up by the, barrage of fireworks or whatever.
Leaf blower lady, get out there.
No,
get it in.
That's the homie now, man. She drank with us. I told you that, right?
Did she?
Yeah, man. She got faded with us one night.
Nice.
Big shout out to my homeboy Julio, man. You know what I'm saying? My neighbor Julio, he that night Julio went ahead and got double lit.
Wow.
So yeah, that was a good night watching both of my neighbors get faded and me not.
Yesterday was the first day, if you consider, I mean, I know we're all back to work and everything, but yesterday was the first day since the start of the the break where I had a day where all I had to do was make sure that my daughter didn't kill herself, which is generally a fairly easy task.
Simple days.
Wifey had to go to something, you know. She went and had a hair appointment and stuff, so it was just the two people who like being at home with nothing to do.
Right.
And I think I got double lit. So
hey, double lit is fun. I haven't been double lit in a minute, but double lit is fun when you just at the crib and it's just, at least for me, I won't speak for anybody else, but I don't like being double lit out in
no, not at all. No, that's not the way to do it. The problem is the next day.
That's, the next morning is
want to get a little exercise in. Oh,
man, the next morning at all for me at this point. Like if I take a sip of wine, and the next morning is like, was I drinking all night? What are we doing? Like is this immediate alcohol poisoning now? The moment I take a sip, my brother was so disappointed in me. Because I was like, man, my tolerance isn't starting it. No, my tolerance is fine, but my reaction is like, and he's like, man, what you can't drink now? What? He's like all upset.
Wow.
What are you not drinking now? I'm like, yo, I don't know. I just try to stay away from like adding.
Bully style.
I definitely don't do the sugar in my drink. Like I don't have a Coke with anything anymore.
Oh yeah.
Period.
Are you
like that's to me? That's
you
not
off that
sour
Jack?
Per se, but I don't drink that. It's too sweet.
Jack is too sweet.
It's way too sweet.
That's
I mean, my family likes it, so I took like shots of it in Vegas because I mean, too sweet plus. So I just drink it like on the rocks, but it was just like drinking for the sake of drinking.
This is the thing. I think I'd like to believe I was a fairly sweet young man when I was a child.
I doubt it.
Well. Everything is relative, of course. But as I've grown older, I've shed that persona. So I have to keep my alcohol intake, consistent with that frame of mind. So
shed that persona with vigor.
It's basically like I'm vaping vodka or something like that. Like it's just that's all I can do. But I also have the presence of mind now to stop early enough so that I can have the rest of the night to do some deep breathing exercises and drink 14, 15 gallons of water before I.
It's stupid. Watching me drink is stupid because it's like double shot, right? Oh, he going in. Then it's like 6 bottles of water. Then another It's like, dude, what are you? You're completely diluting this. It's dumb. I'm totally trying to survive drinking while drinking. I want to get to the other side. I have a story for you.
Okay.
About this past weekend.
Oh wow.
That I think you're gonna be like, what? You're gonna be like, yo, that's crazy. I promise you. All right. You ready, man?
Cannot wait.
All right, let's go.
Rap Sucks Radio. Blah, 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 blah.
What up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Rap Sucks Radio with your homeboy Trek Life and your fam, Kev Sakota.
That's right. What's the opposite of Drink Champs? We're the opposite.
The opposite of drink. Wow. Yeah, like, I don't know. We would be, at this point, because they've never won a championship, we're like the Drink Clippers.
Oh, my God. I think I just broke this chair.
Thank y'all for tuning in, man. We appreciate each and every one of y'all. If you would like to catch past episodes of our show, Rap Sucks Radio, you can go to rapsucksradio.com or any of your favorite podcasting platforms. And if you'd like to catch us on television, go to btsn.watch. That's BTSN, Behind the Scenes Network. Check us out there, man. We with plenty of other dope content. BTSN, Behind the Scenes Network. We want in. And you can also catch us on your social media. Check this out. You can catch us at Rap Sucks Radio on Instagram, Facebook, RSR Podcast, and now at Rap Sucks Radio on Threads.
Nice. You didn't get yelled at by some
no, not just yet.
Competing, like some knitting podcast or something like that?
No, they offered it. IG said, "Yo, you want to do this?" I said, "You know what, man? We got to do it." So
that's right.
We are officially on Threads. I like Threads quite a bit. I'll talk about that in a minute. So yeah, check this out. Before we get into the topics, Kev, guess what I did on Saturday night? You'll never guess. Just take one wild guess.
Naked snowboarding.
No, definitely not.
Okay.
Went to a concert. Took my daughter to her first concert. We went to the Alter Ego concert, the iHeartRadio Alter Ego concert, which featured such bands as Sum 41, Fall Out Boy, 1975, Bush, Yellow Card, etc.
Wow.
Right? Okay. I knew you were going to be like, what?
This is your oldest?
Yeah. She's a fan of Fall Out Boy in
really?
1975. Yeah.
I would have thought she might have been a little young for Fall Out Boy, but okay.
I mean, well, I will say this much, and Silo, in spite of his permanent curmudgeon status, he actually agrees with me here that young people do have a much more various music palette these days. They go all the way back
just
to the 90s.
Fallout isn't Fallout Boy like on the AARP tour as well? Like I'm not talking about her. Well, that's funny because had nothing to do with her.
Sum 41 said that Sum 41 officially said like this next tour is their last tour ever.
Yeah, they're on some 82 at this point.
Sorry. But here's the trip. I'm sitting there. We have great seats. We got great seats. We're 18 rows back from the stage.
Oh, wow.
So excellent seats. We are chilling. The photographer comes up, takes a couple pictures. I'm like, why is he taking pictures of us specifically? Turns out to be the homie Joel. So big shout out to my man Joel.
Oh.
Yeah, St. Joel. And we're chilling. We're just watching. And I'm like, man, I'm literally thinking, this is exactly what I'm thinking at the moment before this episode. I'm like, yo, Kev would trip out if he found out I was here. Like, he would be like, yo, really? You rolled up to that?
I don't know.
And right as they said that, Mike Shinoda walked out.
Really?
And I'm hyped. I'm like, that's the homie. I'm like, I don't know him like that. But I'm like, that's the homie. People around him like, oh, he knows Mike Shinoda. Like, I don't. But, yeah, man, Mike Shinoda walked out and we had a chance to go backstage. And I was like, nah, that's okay. And now I'm thinking, man, I wish I kind of would have went backstage and said what's up to him or whatever. But yeah.
Oh, he'd probably be home by then.
Stage. No, he was there the whole day. He came out. Fall Out Boy closed. He was there for the Fall Out Boy show.
Oh, word. Okay. Was Courtney Love there?
I don't think so. No.
Oh, okay.
Not that I know
her band. Isn't Bush her band? I don't know.
He was up there solo.
Oh wait. Oh no, that's Gavin. What's his name? Dude.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. 30 Seconds to Mars was was one of the kind of closer to closing. I don't know if I'd call it closing acts, and I was actually pretty hyped to go. And they turned out to open because the Black Keys were performing, and I've always liked.
They're dope.
Keys. They're super dope.
Why?
Yeah.
They don't fit opened in with any of those other bands. Though.
Yeah, it was weird, right? But they opened, and after that, not that I didn't enjoy the show, but that was who I was like, all right, you know what I'm saying? I can rock with that. But yeah, it was pretty dope. I have to say, it was pretty dope.
I love whenever any of those songs come on in Target.
Which we will get into right after this.
Wait, what was the venue?
Honda Center.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I still have
very, 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 very good show. I think it's the third or fourth Alter Ego, maybe more. I don't know, but yeah, pretty dope show.
Nice.
Yo, check it out. Let's get into it. So, Kev, you want to go ahead and read this episode title for us as we start off the first episode of 2024?
Let's see, what is it? The episode title is, and this is episode 190.
Yeah, we're close. We're getting close to 200.
Comedians Gone Wild. Okay, all right. So what do you mean by that? I don't even know what you're talking about.
All right, let's jump into topic number one. Comedians starting off 2024 with L's. quite a few L's going around. We'll start with Joe Coy, but there's really a lot to discuss here. Joe Coy bombed the Golden Globes and is now public enemy number one is the reason for this topic. Sources involved are the internet, and this particular source is OK Magazine. Now, before I start this is not new news to anyone. We were going to jump on last week and decided, you know what, we normally take the first 2 weeks off anyway. Plus, you guys were not dying for our Joe Coy opinion. I guarantee you that. So, if you guys all know that Joe Coy basically didn't do as great at the Golden Globes per plenty of fan opinions. And the two things that stood out were the Barbie movie joke, and the Taylor Swift joke. So he stated that he claims that he isn't a hater and didn't mean to hate with his joke about Taylor Swift. Right? Following his failed joke about the Shake It Off singer during 2024 Golden Globe Awards, the comedian attempted to clear his name by insisting that he was a fan of the pop star and he meant to lift up the 34-year-old, not bring her down. He didn't mean for his NFL joke to be taken as a negative jab at Taylor Swift. In quotes, he says, "I don't understand the Taylor Swift tiff. Mind you, that one was just getting rewritten 50 million times, never ran it through all the way until we had to walk up. It's just weird. Where do you place it?" And he kept hammering, and we kept hammering and cutting it down. Joe Coy admitted in the interview and lost. So basically, he's kind of blaming the writers here. But the whole intention of that joke was to make fun, still in quotes by Joe Coy, by the way. The whole intention of that joke was to make fun of the NFL. It's like the cool thing about the Golden Globes is we don't do cutaways for ratings, right? So, yeah, he didn't mean to fade Taylor Swift with that, and she didn't look very amused by the joke, so that led to a whole other reaction. And then there's the Barbie joke, before I pass it over to you, Kev, which basically stated that Barbie was Oppenheimer was a movie about blah, 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 and Barbie was a movie about a doll with big boobs, and people seem to be greatly offended by that joke. Kev, I'm going to pass this over to you. We will talk about Joe Coy and then get into some other comedian L's that have been taken in 2024. Set it off.
Yeah, I mean, it's it's a thankless position to be in, sure. and he's not a kid either. That's the thing, he's been doing comedy for a while. He's unknown to quite a few people, I think, who tuned in to see the Golden Globes, which probably has a median demographic audience of 70 to 75-year-old white folks.
Right.
Watching it. But, I don't know how much he's done stuff like this, but the thing I was most offended by was when he threw his writers under the bus, which I assume they weren't all his, quote unquote, his writers. There was a team of writers that I'm sure were tasked with helping him come up with the monologue in the 10 days that he had, which, first of all, I don't know anything about the Golden Globes. My assumption is that since he mentioned that he only got hired 10 days before the show, that 10 days is not the normal runway that you have to come up with something that the entire country is going to see. 3
months or something like that.
Yeah. So I think, it was kind of a last minute thing. But you can't throw people under the bus. That's the only thing that I will say is that I thought was a script. And he apologized.
You're telling me
he apologized.
You can't throw people under the bus. That's what you're saying.
I think that this is the thing. The same people who have so much time on their hands that they want to make it their job to ask him why he said what he said about Taylor Swift, the same people who want to ask him why he said what he said about Barbie are also going to be able to ask Taylor Swift what she thinks, or her fans what they think, or ask Greta Gerwig what she thinks about the Barbie joke, right? Who, by the way, to her credit, for whatever it's worth, whether she was actually offended or not, was a good sport about it. The director of Barbie, right? Who they're not going to talk to? They're not going to go interview the team of writers.
That's true.
Right?
That is true.
So yes, that was the only thing. Because when he said that, I looked over and of course I'm one of the 70-year-olds who was watching it with my wife. I was like, he shouldn't have. That's the one thing he shouldn't have done.
He shouldn't have done that one.
And by the way, I like his comedy. Sure. And he's he's okay. Shout to DJ Turbulence, my homie. He's like his tour DJ.
Big shout out.
He's also like not the kind of comedian who you know what I mean? He's the last comedian who's playing arenas who you would think would get in trouble for saying, quote unquote, the wrong thing. So I don't think he's had a lot of practice also in responding to people saying that, you know, they got offended by whatever he said. You know what I'm
saying? To my understanding, there are a contingency of people who don't like the accents, like the various, you know, in his act, he goes through various different accents from various different Asian nationalities, Asian cultures, and some people don't like it. At least that's what I was told. Mm-hmm. But I don't think he's ever had to respond to it because he himself is Asian, and like that's probably more of an internal argument. What I will say is, I don't think Cat Williams agrees with you about throwing people under the bus. Because Cat Williams, he drove a bus forward and backward and forward and backward. Like, he was going off. Cat Williams went off. He went off.
He definitely went off. I am interested to hear your take on the whole thing. What I will say is the difference in my mind is that, again, and this is purely assumption on my part, Joe Coy was in a room of people who are probably stand-ups as well, but who are not, you know, like I just said, he's not terribly well-known to a mainstream audience. I think, you know, whatever. That could be wrong as well. But the writers definitely are not as well-known, I would think, as Joe Coy is. So he's throwing people who, you know, are probably getting what they see as a good opportunity to write for a big awards show. But they're not Kevin Hart. They're not Steve Harvey. They're not Cedric the Entertainer. They're not
Sure.
The guys.
Well, let's get into that. But let me close. I'll close with my thought on the Joe Coy thing. Look, you have a bad night. I'm a performer. I have been in my previous life was a performer myself. I know exactly what bad nights feel like. I've never been accused of saying something offensive on stage. I remember I'll very, very brief example of responding to something poorly that I was part of. I was part of a show at an improv. They wanted me to perform closing at an improv, and the improv was the Rap Crisis Center, right? Instead, of course, following the Rape Crisis Center, but it was the Rap Crisis Center.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't catch that at all. Just like you didn't. I didn't catch it at all. I was just on the flyer, posted the flyer on my Facebook or whatever, and a woman responded to me and said, "Hey, this is awful. You shouldn't. I'd never seen this woman before. Didn't know who she was. I initially didn't get what she was talking about. And she's talking about, like, you know, just a horrible message and using something that, you know, and I'm like, what is she talking about? So finally, when I realized what she was talking about, I was like, hey, I didn't name the show. You got to talk to the people who put on the show, right? Now, 20 years later, I would have responded to that a lot differently.
Okay.
Right? I wouldn't have directed the accountability for not catching that is on me, in my opinion. And I would have responded a lot differently. I would have soaked the accountability up, responded apologetically, but then said, hey, this is not something that I caught. Initially, I do understand your thing, but I'm about to still rock the show. But, you know, at least been understanding. That's something I feel like I responded poorly to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, and
he was in a much greater position than that. But yeah.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, you know, you're caught there with a mic in your face, some reporters asking you your response. You can always just not say anything, or just, you know, say, hey, I caught an L. Well, you know, I'm going to take the L. Though? You can. Most comedians don't, you know, and part of it is also, like I said, and I've only seen a couple of his stand-up specials, if that, right?
I've seen.
And I liked it. What I saw, you know, I was like,
I thought it was funny.
It's good. Is it based on the material that I've seen him do? It's like I don't think he faces that situation a lot, but I you know, just based on the reaction of comedians who do edgy whatever, who do offensive comedy and then want to, you know, defend it or whatever. It's like, you can say whatever you want, but you know, don't come with the, you know, it's at this point in 2023, 2024 to say you can't say anything anymore than this. Why are you doing this then? Shut the hell up.
Yeah, and you saw my comments on that. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. We totally agree on that.
Yeah, like, stop already. You guys have to stop with this. And I didn't like I've never heard of this guy. First of all, there are over 7 billion people on this planet.
Right.
It's possible that you don't know who a comedian, actor, or musician is. So, who is this guy?
I'm not paying any attention to that shit. No,
get your corny.
Yeah,
y'all corny and y'all stupid.
Yeah,
but the thing that I did find funny, and the thing that I will say, I've been pushing back on comedians about this the whole time, but I do notice this quite like a bit. They did try to cancel this dude, like kind of can't. Like the whole idea was to kind of end his career at this dead moment, and of course, I don't believe cancel culture is a real thing, but I think that there was this collective ideology that they were going to get together and ruin this dude's career. No one should watch him. No one should do anything with. And I'm like, dude, he had an audience, a built-in audience. Some people that he works with, I actually work. He shouted out Turbulence. Quite a few of the people that actually book his tours and work with him are people that I've worked closely with before. You're not doing anything to those people. Trust me. Yeah. He has a bulletproof team of folks that don't care about nothing you have to say or anything you have to do. So state your business and shut it down.
Yeah. If you're a rapper, if you're a DJ, you want to go out there every night and you want every song that you play to change everybody's life. It's not going to happen. Sure. If you're a comedian, you want to go out there and every word that you say should make people piss their pants and cry while they're laughing. It's not going to happen.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You want to go out there and sink every basket, every shot attempt you want it to go in the basket. That's not going to happen. It's just not. But you know, the one thing I will say especially for comedians in this day and age is at least if you get to a certain point, be ready for what's going to happen when somebody gets pissed off at you. Cause if anything, I could see the Barbie joke maybe being a little bit more, you know, edgy than the Taylor Swift one. Also with the Taylor Swift thing, I would put money down that she didn't even hear what he said. And that they cut to her and she looked like like most people probably look half of the time when they're not paying attention to what's going on. It's like you're in a room full of freaking ghosts, and just trying to get through the night, make sure that you can get to the football game the next day or whatever. It's like, I didn't even hear what, and I don't know. I don't know if anybody actually talked to her. I don't think she cares. I don't know. Her fans, got upset. But honestly, what he said, in my opinion, I agree with him. It was not like a shot at her. Like he said, he was a shot at the NFL. If anything, I think that's probably the direction they thought the joke was going. But
yeah,
people it's just that it's Taylor Swift, so of course they're going to concentrate on her. Barbie's not a real person. Greta Gerwig is not someone you might not even know that she's the director of the Barbie movie. But the message of the Barbie movie was the opposite of
it went as internet arguments go, right?
Yeah.
You start off with an opinion. Somebody decide this light. Well, nobody sees this anyway. But this is stupid. All right. Anyway,
you just got shut down.
Start off. Yeah, it's just crazy. The light just went out. I got to get a new light. Anyway, now it looks like I truly look like I was like a Sith character. So, and I knocked the mic over. This is a great starting show. Listen, it went as internet arguments go. People got upset at a particular point, the Taylor Swift thing, right? Then they followed it up with when they couldn't get him on the Taylor Swift thing, then they switched over to the Barbie thing. And I was like, I'm not buying it. You know what I mean? I get being upset. I get the response, but I'm also kind of not buying it. I'm just like, man, just move on. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, and that's what that was the thing I think he should have done. Just move on. It's like you know, you can go out and say, you know, I wish it would have gone better. Period.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
what you should do is what Dave Chappelle said he does. It's another person I'm gonna bring up, but let's get to Cat Williams, man. Let's get to Cat Williams. We spent some time on Joe Coy, so Cat Williams goes off entirely.
Yeah. Now, did you listen to watch the whole thing?
I did not listen to 2 hours of it. No.
Okay.
No, I did not.
Because, by the way, I did not think I would, and I started listening, and I listened to the whole thing.
Did you really?
It went by very. It went. Yeah. It was not a chore.
That sounds like torture, but no, man, I wasn't super into it. What I did watch, everyone who knows me knows that I am not a fan of Steve Harvey. So I'm all in for Steve Harvey shade. If we shade Steve Harvey, I will bring all the umbrellas. Let's do this. You know what I'm saying? But what I told my wife was, I said, look, 90% of what he said about his peers in the industry and the industry itself was likely true. And about 70% of what he said about himself is true. That was what I assumed, right? Then people started fact checking. And then he said, what got me there, let me go through point by point. One, he said, and watch them all respond so y'all know it's true. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. So you're supposed to say something and nobody's supposed to respond to you? That don't make no sense. So people are responding.
Like he was saying that if they respond, that means it's true.
Then that proves that he's right. And I'm like, bro, you ain't gonna just say something. You know what I'm saying? And I don't get to respond. And people are like, see, Cat Williams said they was gonna say something back. Like he exposed something. Okay, that's part one. And part 3 is gonna kill you. Part 2 is Ice Cube came out and said we would never write a rape scene into Friday. Mm-hmm. Right? So his story about him changing the Money Mike bathroom scene from Friday After Next, Ice Cube denied it. He didn't deny it in a diss. He just said, look, that's not true.
All right.
Now, people glossed over that like point for point Cat Williams was true, but no, Ice Cube denied that. And third, I just have to breathe on this one. Okay. A friend of mine was like, when I die, I hope my homeboys ride for me like Cat Williams rode for Bernie Mac. And I was like, 1,000 years after you died? Bernie Mac been dead for 654 years. I'm like, now when you basically getting a 2-hour special out of Shannon Sharp, all of a sudden we defending Bernie Mac. Fam, get out of here. Bernie Mac was this and that. He's done what, 4 specials since Bernie Mac passed away, and I have not heard this one. Watched all of them, and not all of them are great. Not all of them are great.
I was wondering about that.
One of
said all those specials that he'd done. I was like, I have to take it back to like Pimp Chronicles, and then I think I pretty much checked out after that.
And worth it, in my opinion. Very worth checking out. These joints hit mid very fast. Not one. Y'all, 2024. We starting off like this, and I'm trying to be peaceful, trying my best, man. Like y'all want me to be this way, and that's the problem. You guys want me to turn into this person. Listen, y'all ain't said Bernie Mac name for a whole 17 winters. I haven't heard none of y'all care about no damn Bernie Mac. Me and Suge was just talking about Bernie Mac probably November. I can remember the last time I said anything about Bernie Mac, probably down to the day. And now all of a sudden, y'all got this hero called Shut the fuck up. So, in conclusion, it sounded like a lot of truth, but a lot of sour grapes. You know what I'm saying? A lot of truth mixed in with a lot of sour grapes. And I wish you guys would stop picking your heroes, like stop picking bitter heroes. That's my opinion of it. You know what I'm saying? Stop picking bitter heroes. All right, I'm done.
I enjoyed it. I was entertained. I didn't feel like it changed my life in any great way, other than I did go back and watched a lot of Bernie Mac after that. You know, but I did find it thoroughly entertaining. I obviously don't know if the things that he said were, you know, the one thing that I thought, that bummed me out was the Cedric, the Entertainer.
Yeah, that's
thing, because that seems plausible.
Sure.
You know? And I love that whole bit on Kings of Comedy that he did, because he killed it. He crushed it. But I mean, you know, that's the kind of thing that, you know, like, cause after, you know, I watched a bunch of Bernie Mac, I watched that Fat Tuesday documentary, the Comedy Store documentary. And the thing that struck me as funny is that I knew who Joe Rogan was, not as a comedian, but from, I think News Radio was probably the first time I sort of was like, oh, okay. This guy's funny, you know, but I didn't know he was a stand-up, right? But way after that, I think probably during the Fear Factory years, maybe, or whatever, there was a comedian that was on Warner Brothers when I was there, named Carlos Mencia, whose album was dope.
Yeah.
But I remember when Rogan crushed him at the Comedy Store for stealing jokes. And I was like, oh, shit. Like, oh, did he? Like, wow, that's crazy. And nobody heard nothing from him since then. And that's when I mean, you know, it's like, so I was like, I went from knowing who Joe Rogan was and being like, oh, wow, you really want to go and make people eat donkey dicks on TV all every week. Okay. Get your money, I guess, whatever. Oh, and you're a comedian. Okay. But I didn't really sort of like have any kind of like, oh, this guy's serious about his craft until I saw those videos come out of him killing this dude for, like not letting it go for this dude just stealing jokes, right? Which seemed to be, again, similarly plausible, right? And then since then, obviously, a lot of things have changed in Rogan's world, but like that's the kind of thing. Like when that thing came up, I was like, wow, because of all the comedians that Cat Williams talked about, the one that I didn't want it to be true about was probably Cedric. Because you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, whatever. But all the people he was talking about, they're fine. They're gonna be fine. You know,
nobody's career is gonna end based off it. And y'all haven't talked about hanging with Mr. Cooper.
Oh yeah, that was.
Y'all ain't talked about that show.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's one thing for somebody to go back and say, like, you know what? Now that he mentioned it, this is kind of crazy. And put up the two pictures of Steve Harvey and what I don't even remember his name, and say like, right? Okay, that's one thing. But to go on the kind of tirade you're talking about with like the, you know, riding for him, it's like, well, you know,
come on.
You know, you're not.
Yeah, Mark Curry.
Taylor Swift has a fan club. Beyonce has a fan club. Cat Williams does not have a fan club the way you guys are trying to act.
If I had never in my life heard, I was like, when did he become the savior of things? Anyway.
But,
and let's close out the comedian talk with this. First time in my life I didn't like a Dave Chappelle special.
Oh, I have not watched it yet. Dreamer?
Yeah, it was cool. It wasn't horrible, but I was like, all right.
Yeah.
I mean, I absolutely did not like I watched it. Some people were super defensive about it, so I don't really talk about it. So I guess I might get some heat based on the show if people want to respond to it. But I wasn't a fan of the Chris Rock special either. Remember we talked about that a little bit on the show, like how some of the clips came out. I finally watched the whole thing since we talked about the show months ago.
Yeah.
He went into the whole like new comedian trope. You can't say anything. People are sensitive, selective outrage type. And I'm like, I don't know, man. You can't. You know, people can walk and chew gum at the same time. Like, I mean, settle down. You know what I mean?
And The thing I don't get
You're fine.
If you're just hanging out with friends, people who you actually know.
Yeah.
And you're talking trash. You know that there is a point beyond which you cannot go. Even if you really know them and they know you, and they know it's all love, you still know that there's a point beyond which you cannot go without making sure that you don't have a drink in your hand so that you could make sure you block a punch or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, why that would change because, you've been telling jokes, to an audience that doesn't have a mic for the last 20 years. I don't know why you would think that, but
I feel like it's part of like maybe the change in society after 1965, maybe somewhere around 1975, 1980, people stopped. There were probably a bunch of comedians that were telling a lot of, I'm just going to say white comedians. I'm talking about the civil rights movement, y'all. So chill out when I say white comedians. But I'm sure at the time, racism in comedy was probably pretty high. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 10 to 15 years later, people stopped laughing at those jokes. And those comedians felt like the world is ending because we used to be able to tell these black jokes in the South and they went over so well, right? Imagine how they would feel. I'm not feeling any great feeling for them personally, but they probably felt like free speech is dying. We can't say the N-word, hard R anymore in clubs, and people hate us. Or imagine how school teachers felt when they had to integrate schools or things of that nature, right? The world is changing. We can't exist anymore the way we wanted to exist. That's what comedians sound like to me right now, and I will stand on it for the rest of my life. All this can't say, and every time you say you can't say it, you're on a stupid tour with 10,000 people watching you. Exactly. How the hell can you not say it?
And
you're the only one saying it.
There are comedians who talk about so-called cancel culture in unique and clever ways that make me laugh. They're saying the exact same thing, by the way, at the end of the day, their sentiment is exactly the same thing, but they're using their brains, their comedic writing minds to come up with a way to comment on it that's not making them sound like, like everyone's after them. It's like, it's the job that you chose. You know what I'm saying? It's like, there are plenty of jobs out there that you can't do those jobs the way you used to do it. Like, for example, 20 years ago, you could put a door on a passenger jumbo jet and not, skip a couple bolts. You can't do that anymore. It doesn't mean somebody's trying to cancel you for wanting you to do your job better. It's just the way it is,
People cannot find you entertaining or funny. If that's the case, then every rap album you didn't like, you canceled the artist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of not liking rap albums. Topic number 2, man, is titled Mos Def on Target.
Uh-huh.
The reason why is Yasin Bey, formerly known as Mos Def, explains why Drake isn't hip-hop. Did he say those exact words? Anyway, and relates his music to shopping at Target.
He measured his words, I think, quite carefully.
I don't remember him saying, and I'm tripping, I might be tripping, but I don't remember him saying that he isn't hip hop.
Well, I had ignored this entire story until just about a half hour before we recorded, and I actually watched the video clip of the young lady asking him the question. I don't know who she was, but she asked him, is Drake hip hop? Sure. Right?
Sure.
And immediately he, you know what? This is actually another situation where, just like I said, comedians need to be ready for these questions because they know they're going to come at some point. Rappers our age or around our age need to be ready for it because the first thing he said was, "Why are you doing this to me?"
Yeah. I laughed so hard. I laughed so hard.
But I don't think he said he's not heavy. I think he said he's more pop to me.
He said all right. So look, the source for this is at least 9 different direct messages sent to me about it. And this article is pulled from Stereo Gum. Players involved in Mos Def, currently known as Yasin Bey and Drake. Yasin Bey, formerly known as Mos Def, has racked up years of credibility in rap since launching his career in 1994. On a new episode of the fashion podcast, The Cutting Room Floor, he was asked if he considered Drake to be hip-hop, a question that clearly stressed him out as he started, as Kev mentioned. Why are you doing this to me? He began his answer saying that, and then he said, Drake is pop to me. In the sense, like, if I was in Target in Houston and I heard a Drake song, it feels like a lot of his music is compatible with shopping or shopping with an edge in certain instances. It's likable. This is the part I kind of want to really delve into a little bit. And he says, what happens when this thing collapses? What happens when the columns start buckling? Are we not in some early stage of that at this present hour? I disagree with that part. We are in the late stages of it. Are we seeing the collapse of them? No, we saw that already. And buying and selling, where's the message that I can use? What is in it for the audience part? Okay, I've already been challenged by Fizz and others about my opinion on whether hip hop is dead or not. But let's go back a few steps here. Kev, what did you garner from his response? Like, what was your immediate response? Did you see curmudgeon? Did you see did you see old head? What did you see in his response?
I don't know. I mean, I didn't have a problem with what he said. You know,
okay.
It's like he was asked a question that he clearly didn't feel like talking about, and he answered it. I can't wait for the first rapper who uses compatible with shopping in a verse.
I have 2 things to say here. 2 things that are going to.
It's probably going to be Pusha T. Let's face it, but
I mean, because Pusha T won't leave it alone. He's like Eminem and Mariah Carey at this point. Am I a jerk for pointing out that I was in Target like 2 weeks ago and Umi Says came on?
Really?
Yes.
I was just going to say, if I'm in Target and Respiration comes on, I'm buying all the Stanley Cups that I can find.
Dude, Umi Says came on. I have video on Instagram where Odyssey came on in Target.
Oh, wow.
Listen, if I hear Rich Baby Daddy in Target, I'm calling management. That's I don't even know what that is. Bend that ass over. Let that coochie breathe. If I hear that in Target.
Who is that?
That's Drake. That is a Drake song. If I hear that joint in Target, I'm going straight to the manager. I'm carrying wig and all. I'm like, yo, listen, my kids is in here. There's a time and place for this, but it ain't Target.
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
God.
I am not going to go too deep because I'm kind of like, I don't have a problem with what he said. It's whatever. Like he can have his opinion on Drake. Probably. I mean, he's one. I'm not bragging or supporting him in this, but he's one hit away from matching Michael Jackson's record in hit songs, right? Number 1 songs. He is pop, just like Hammer went hip hop to pop, just like Outkast crossed over and was considered pop. Like, sure. I don't know if Mos was even really dissing with that. You know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing. I didn't feel like that. It's not like he went on like grabbed a little step stool and a bullhorn and stood on the corner of Fulton and Atlantic and started shouting about Drake not being hip hop. It's not like when Tip was going after Hammer, he hated Hammer. I mean, it seemed like he did. I don't know if he cared.
And MC Search, yeah.
Right. Yeah. So it's like, but that was a time in hip hop where it did always feel like it could be taken away very easily for the wrong reason, right? And now it's a different atmosphere. The one thing I will say about Drake is that I don't know if I ever felt like it wasn't like when he started, the first thing I remember hearing him do was Successful, which is singing, right? Which is dope. Dope little new type of R&B pop, whatever you want to call it, record, right? So it would have been another thing if he did like a, Shook One's Part 3 and then now he's doing what he's doing now. It's not that didn't happen. You know what I'm saying? Sure. His last album came out and people who love him said it was a flop. I listened to it. I was like, it sounds like all the other Drake records that I've heard. I don't know if I have a perspective on this anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Agreed.
So,
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure, but no, I didn't think it was a curmudgeon-y thing. I mean, and I would imagine that Mos has his has no problem expressing his opinion on these things in private, like
what
we
does
all
he
do.
have
It's
to fear?
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so I thought he handled it quite as diplomatically as he could, being put on the spot. And as with many things that he has said that I have heard, when he has said them into a mic, I thoroughly enjoyed. It's compatible with shopping. I was like, I don't even know what that means, but I love it.
Yeah.
He started getting into pom-poms and all that stuff, and I had no idea what he was talking anymore.
Well, no, with that, that's where I kind of want to go with this last couple minutes here, and just to sort of kind of conclude like the initials. We went to part 1, right? Is it an old head energy thing, right? And to me, it falls in that category. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. Like to say somebody's music is compatible with shopping, that's an old head energy level thing. It's fresh, but it's an old head energy thing. But he said, like, what happens when this thing collapses, right? This is what happens.
Well,
it happened already. And everybody, and look, I said this, and everybody from old friends to new friends got at me. I'm like, yo, hip hop has been dead. I said it's been dead, and it's not dead. There's a new artist named, Floopty Bop, and you just don't listen to all the rappers. I'm like, yo, don't you understand? Don't y'all understand what I'm trying to say? Yes, we can still rap, and sure, we can still rap about what we want. And yes, Fonte is still putting out some of the best music you've ever heard in your life. Yes. But the energy is entirely different now. And it's basically all we're listening to is Hammer versions of music. Like, and I'm not dissing Hammer. I'm not dissing pop hip hop music, right? What I'm saying is now it's all Jack and Coke. There is no Woodford Reserve in hip hop right now. I gotta go to the smokiest, most darkest part of Spotify to find heat. That wasn't the case when we were younger. For example, people are like, well, you can't judge hip hop by the radio. Listen, shut up, okay? Shut up entirely, because hip hop was on the radio for years. Stop. New York radio is one of the most important aspects of hip hop. So shut up. Red Alert is a big reason why hip hop expanded to so many different boroughs, generations, to ultimately from the East Coast to the West Coast, blah, 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 blah. KDAY is one of the most important aspects of hip hop. Greg Mack, etc., right? The KDA Mix Masters. Do I need to go on here? So shut up with the you can't judge hip hop by radio, right? Because half of you guys, completely unwashed fatigues, were begging to be on Friday Night Flavors and all of these radio shows. Which, by the way, radio shows of that sort no longer exist. We're only getting one side, people. That is my entire point. We used to get multiple voices. Now we only get one. That is basically what Mos Def is saying. What do I take home from this? What do I take home from Rich Baby Daddy? What do I take home from a Drake record, right? He might say something thought-provoking on occasion, but for every Drake, for every Snoop, shut up, stop telling me that Snoop was basically not saying shit on no damn microphone for you to think about. You can play Little Ghetto Boy to me on repeat if you want to, but it was one damn song. It was one song. So as I conclude this rant, I'm saying, for every Snoop type level artist, there was a Far Side. Right? For every, and the Far Side wasn't super messagey either, but there was just this alternative available sound that we were all privy to. We could all reach for those records. Some of these times you can play at a 90s party, you could play 93 Till and it goes off just as hard as What's My Name by Snoop. Like, the energy is gone for something that says something more. And by the way, concluding rant here, and it's our fault, by the way. It's the underground hip hop, unwashed fatigue group's fault that this happened. Right? Your arms are folded in the back of the club, $7 for your IPA, whatever you bought. You're at the airliner, you got on Adidas. You feel like you're really the best rapper in the building, and all of your music sounds like sticks meeting stones and you falling over the microphone. And now, because we wouldn't allow the creativity to boil within our communities and continue to build up and bubble up, we're here where we tore this down. That's my opinion. You know what I'm saying? We tore this down. All right, I'm done.
Well, is it? I mean, I don't disagree with any of that. I think I can speak for myself. I don't have the same passion to go out and it theoretically is easier now to find good music. Let's assume that there's still good hip hop being made.
There's plenty.
It should be easier now than it was when we were in our 20s and 30s. Even in our 30s, to find it. Yet, for me, I don't care.
Because it's not an active street art anymore.
Well, that's the thing. Part of it is older, because I'm not there at the Root Down or at Unity or what, you know what I mean?
Down? What Unity?
Well, that's the thing. I'm not at those places like, and I'm not even going to say that places like that don't exist, because then there's going to be people saying, well, of course there's this spot that I do, in Corona that has 10 people every week. It's like, well, I'm not going to make it out there. Sorry. Thank you. But I appreciate it. I'm just, not that dedicated, I suppose. But
shout out to Noah James and them for throwing joints. But I'm saying those things are limited. But go ahead. Continue.
But when I do listen to new music, there is stuff that gets me hyped. A lot of times it's not rap. You know what I'm saying? Like we talked about the Black Keys. There's Black Keys records. There's Krungman records that I'm like, oh my God, that's dope.
Sure.
It's not because there's because there's a Hot 16 in there, but it's, and that's the space that that rap music, hip hop music came from. That energy. The reason I think, at least for me, that I'm frustrated about the state of hip hop is because I don't feel like that energy should have gone anywhere. And but I think the conflict is that I would like to fool myself into believing the assumption that the people who are now in their 20s and early 30s or in their teens, like we were when we first started loving this thing, should be seeking out the same type of energy that we were seeking out. And I don't think that's I don't think
I don't think it's the case. It's not listen, more young artists have told me, yo, I don't freestyle, my styles ain't free. I heard that from my generation all the way to now. Mm-hmm. The thing was, you're going to think this sounds crazy, but remember, artists like the Black Keys, artists like Sum 41, artists like Q-Tip, these are artists that loved their craft. Prince would go to Zanzibar and play for free. He loved his craft. You know what I'm saying? Stevie Wonder would be at Zanzibar with the damn harmonica, like, three nights out of every month, damn near. It seemed like Stevie Wonder was always at Zanzibar. I've run into I've come across more musicians than I could ever name in more different genres than I could ever understand. And the one thing was the money came after the passion.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? And more and more you hear the money before the passion. And I feel like that's kind of what Mos is saying. Like, what do I, we almost don't want to hear a message from an artist no more. Like J. Cole, I think for the young folks is a very big like, all right, man, J. Cole kind of changed my life type thing. And I think that that's awesome. I think that's dope. I'll hold that part back. But to me, the energy is dead. And it's not because I'm old. I'm seeking it. I'm not just seeking the songs. I'm seeking the energy. And I don't see it.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I'm not. I don't care. I will enjoy it if I'm there. Like if I go to a show, if I see Cole live, I love it. See
Sure.
Jid, or I think
Jid is hard.
I saw Jid and this kid Saba open for him, kid from Chicago. Dope.
Yeah.
Super dope. But I don't, that's one show, 2 shows, whatever. It's like, I'm not going out the way. We were going out every night, dude.
Agreed.
I can't do that.
Of course not.
But
not.
again, the kids who are going out every night, which I assume there are people who are now in their 20s that are going out all the time, every night, all around Hollywood and all that stuff. They're not listening to the same stuff, right? I mean, I would assume they're not, but I think not. We talked a couple episodes ago about like, or I know I said something about the records that we sampled and the records, especially that like the DJ Premiers and the Pete Rocks of the world sampled. A lot of that jazz, a fairly significant amount of those artists, whether it's jazz, R&B, whatever, was not records that I think when they came out were considered like, oh, this is the real soul, or this is the real jazz, like the real for real, especially like a Bob James or whatever. It's like there was a little, left to center, I would imagine, right? And I'm guessing, but terribly popular.
Well, Blue Eyed Soul wasn't considered like.
Well, that's the thing, right? And
big
so
soul at the time, yeah.
And so my hope is that at some point that cycle changes, because there are records that come out now that are from the top artists, and I'm not even talking about like a Drake, but like those sort of newer artists that are coming out and putting out records that become hits, and then maybe you don't hear from them. Maybe they are one-hit wonders, which has happened forever with all genres of music. That I listen to and I'm like, I know this is the most popular thing out there right now. Not just because Spotify is telling me that or YouTube is telling me that. It's because I know this person's name without knowing what they sound like, right?
Sure.
And I listen to it and I'm like, I don't understand. I don't understand that at all. Right? So my hope is that at some point, the tide turns so that there's less of that and more of like a record from a dude like Corday, or you know what I'm saying? Like somewhere at least it's hard. Like, wow, you strung 20 words together that happen to rhyme and mean something from start to end. And the beat was dope, and I can see it. I can put it in the context of what I consider hip hop,
Sure.
But who cares about what I think?
Well, no, it's not about that though, Kev.
No, what I'm saying is who cares what I think? Because I'm not going to move the needle. It's that I want somebody whose music I happen to like to have a legion of teenagers and 20-year-olds also loving it for similar reasons, maybe slightly different. Maybe he's he might be dressing, like all the Odd Future dudes. It's like they all dress in ways that like we probably, except for maybe Earl, it's like they, dress different and look different and sound a little bit different, but it's like at least I can get it. Tyler was talking about crazy stuff when they first came out.
Sure.
I'm like, wow, he's way out, but I get it at least.
And it's crazy because when you think about that time period, like Pac Div was out. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying, names are now fail. I mean, Lil Brother was out. Like all of this stuff energy was happening that was circulating, right? Like I like Jid, I like Earth Gang, I like Cole, I like Corday. I like a lot of these, Anakin Flywalker. Like, I like a lot of these artists. I'm saying what is missing to me is the collective energy. For every major record, there was an offsetting record that was like, nothing against the major record. It just, there was always something else. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's what's lost here. I do want to also mention before we bounce that Black Keys came out to Mos Def's Crime and Medicine. Huh. That was they came out to that beat. I thought that shit was crazy. I went crazy. My daughter was like, what is this, Dad? And I'm like, what? I haven't played this one for you yet. So we went to In-N-Out and bumped that. Listen, Kev, we got to get out of here. We are over an hour. Thank y'all for tuning in. We appreciate each and every one of y'all. I am your homeboy Shrek Life, and that there is your fam, Kev Dakota.
So wait, hip-hop is dead?
To me, the energy of hip-hop is gone. But, you know, I don't know.
Happy New Year.
This beard is all gray. So, there you go. Look, this is Rap Slicks Radio. If you want to catch past episodes, go to rapslicksradio.com. Holla at us on Instagram at Rap Slicks Radio, on Threads at Rap Slicks Radio, or Facebook RSR Podcast. We are out of here like last year. On the count of three, we say peace. 1, 2, 3. Peace. We out, y'all.